Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Michael here. Hope everyone is doing well. It is Valentine's Day, 14th of February, 2024. So, welcome in. I apologize. It has been a while since we were able to do part 7. So, while I was unable to actually stream a lot this past week, I did get a few things accomplished. Don't worry, we're going to discuss each and every one of those in detail because, as promised, I am attempting to bring you along with every step of this process, and hopefully that my faux pas and mistakes might be a learning experience for some of you all attempting to do something similar. Jet Pilot Cinnamon, hello, welcome on in, my friend. Thank you so much. Your continued support of the channel with the resubscription. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Hey Drippy, hello. Hope you are doing well. I also need to take a couple moments to say thank you to Pseudopilot, who came in with an offline follow earlier last week while we were offline. So thank you for that. Hope to talk to you at some point in time. And then November 6242, Victor Rich with a new follow a couple days ago while we were offline as well. So thank you for that. Okay, here's what I've accomplished and what the... Stand by. Camera difficulties. Okay. Hopefully this camera will hold up. I still think I'm running through too much USB cable. I may have to do something about that. So again, welcome in. M. Stein, hello. Welcome in. At the end of part 7, I had just finished discussing, we had just finished the pedestal assembly. And nothing was connected at that point in time. And we started to discuss the intercom and how I was going to bring the mic and headphone jacks into the cabin, into their respective locations. I still haven't quite figured that out yet. I'll kind of show you what I've come up with thus far. But to bring you up to speed, what I've done most recently, I went ahead and replaced the carpet in the unit. It was just because I extended it, I needed to add a bit more carpet, so I just went and bought a piece of carpet from B-Pain. Hello, welcome back in. I just went and bought a roll of utility carpet from the local Menards. It was a little over 4 feet by 6 feet, so that gave me some room to work with. And what I was able to do is just kind of, I was able to carpet my floor, but I was also able to kind of roll the edge up and carpet, I don't know what you might call them, in the lower sides of the cabin per se, so that some of that wood wasn't exposed. And that's all I did. I replaced the carpet from, it was just pretty easy, self-explanatory. Not going to go into a whole lot of detail. The old carpet came up, the new one went down. I screwed it in a couple places, and we're good to go. So, I was able to actually get everything wired up and plugged in this past week. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of show you everything. Let me just share my screen real quick, and then I'll kind of explain what the components are and what and how everything gets hooked up and that sort of thing. Hopefully my little camera window still continues to work because I can't really see it. But what you're looking at here, these are the USB hubs that I use to power Felicity. I use several of these same exact hubs. I've gone through several other powered USB hubs that have failed time and time again. I have found these Sabrent 13-port powered USB 2.0 hubs to be absolutely phenomenal. They haven't failed yet, and I think my oldest one is going on about 3.5 years now. So I think that's doing pretty good for a USB hub, and I know that I ask a lot of them, a lot from these. M. Stein did purchase one on my excellent. So I know that I ask a lot from these hubs. They've yet to fail me. So when I take you to the back of the unit to show you all the cabling and everything, these are the hubs that you're gonna see everything plugged into. The pedestal, we got the pedestal assembled with our cow flap lever and our rotor trim wheel, but we need to interface that with the computer. And I use a couple of different interface boards for the various components, mostly depending on if the particular switch or button is digital or analog. I happen to, my very first interface board I still have, and it still works, made by Bobby at Desktop Aviator. This is where all of my double pole single throw switches run into, and it's a single pulse, and this is a single pulse board, so I turn that switch on, sends a command and puts the switch off, and those switches are essentially, they're, I think actually, let me just kind of, I have one here, I'll show you. And there we go again. And hopefully there it is. Okay, sorry about that again so much, but almost every double pole single throw switch is going to use 4 wires. 2 wires are going to they're going to connect to one side of the pole and 2 wires to the other, and generally your middle pole, that's going to receive both wires, so that when you toggle it this way, it's making a connection here. When you toggle it the other way, it's making a connection here. So again, think of it as not necessarily in a physical sense as on off. Okay, we're still on. This is an on switch. So it's constantly sending a signal depending on which, depending on, how you flip it. And that's very important. You need to have 2 separate signals going into your simulator if you want to turn something on and off. The difference is if you're using a toggle type of command, then it's taking the same signal, but it's toggling it on and off inside of the simulator. It does its own thing. It's looking at that one command, and it's toggling the component on and off. That's not what I want, because that that removes the sole purpose of having a physical switch if it's not going to turn something on and off. So when we go back and I show you all the connections, remember each switch, each button is going to have, it's going to require 2 leads and 2 wires. So that being said, what I want to do is I'll show you the back of the pedestal and show you all of the connections and cabling and whatnot. And then from there, we're going to actually fire up the simulator computer, and I'll explain why I'm going to have to redesign a lot of this frame. And this particular frame that I built would be absolutely phenomenal if it was inside of a 180 degree spherical projection, and I'll explain why again once we get in there. But let me go ahead and switch to the other camera, and I'll show you some of the physical connections and components and things like that. That's on the back of the unit, and from there we will go ahead and fire it up. So let me switch this camera here. Should work properly. Okay. So this camera is portable. Let me go ahead and slide the simulator away from the wall. And then you and I are going to step behind the simulator. And I'll show you what all is going to be involved. For now, I'm just going to set you right here, and I'll be right around to come and pick you right up. Okay. We come down here. This is the back of the pedestal. Let me turn it. Okay. My interface board for the digital components is right here, and I forgot to show you that one. I'll show you that one in just a moment on the display. But this interface board is it's a joystick controller board. It's a simple USB, and everything, I have switches, the digital switches here. Then up here is the potentiometers, which is for the cowl flaps along with the rudder trim. My trim wheel itself is an actual USB component, and it gets plugged in via a cable. If we step up a little bit above that, we'll see our alternate static switch there. Over here is our anti-ice switch. And then we have our cabin air, which runs on 110 volt. And then we have above that, that's our anti-ice switch. This one here is our wing flaps. Sorry, I'm looking at it backwards, had it confused. So that's wing flaps, cabin air, anti-ice. Those components, along with the ELT, which is tucked up, well, you're not going to be able to see it. All of these components run to this desktop aviator board here. And again, it's just a matter of 2 wires to create a joystick type of button. And it interfaces just like any other joystick would. It shows up as a joystick device in your computer, and you can assign it, to your simulator of choice. While I'm back here, you're also looking at the 12-volt regulated power supply. This power supply is what provides the 12-volt power to my pedestal for charging of USB type devices, iPad, iPhone, your phone, GPS unit, and anything that might require a charge. We have that capability to do that. And it also feeds a digital voltmeter that I have in the cabin as well, and I'll show you that once we get inside. Beside this, we have the FSX dual unit, and I'm going to step back on the other side now. Alright. Over here is where, at least temporarily, I set my FSX dual. This is the actual intercom. This is what your headsets would plug into. For this version of my simulator, I did not want this inside of the cabin. So, with the use of some general aviation headset extension cables, I'm able to run that, into the cabin and plug my headset in right here. It's temporary, but it kind of lets me plug it in in the approximate location I normally would in the actual aircraft. And then if we look back here, I have the various USB hubs. They're just zip tied to the frame. And then what I did, let me go back over here. What I did this go around to make my life a whole lot easier for maintenance and servicing is I labeled everything. I labeled every wire for every component with a label maker. That way, if it does need serviced, I'll know which connector or which plug goes where. 3 separate USB hubs feed 2 separate computers. There's a USB hub here. This goes to the Air Manager computer, which handles the G5's 430 and the trim wheel, and I think that's it. The other 2 hubs go to the simulator computer. I have one hub handles all the flight controls, and the other hub handles all the avionics. Alright, I'm going to sit you back down again. Alright, sorry to keep moving everyone around. Hopefully I'm not making you all seasick. So, that is where I'm at with cabling. But as we can see, we come forward here and we can kind of see a lot of those cables hanging down there, below the cowl. Oh hey, it didn't freeze that time. And we don't like that, so what I'm gonna do is make a mess. But I have this black curtain, and it's essentially going to hide those cables. And since most of the cabling is pretty much done, I think I'm just going to go ahead and secure this up there, and then we'll fire up the machine and go from there. Let me get this secured up. I'm just going to use a staple gun, and then we're just going to staple the curtain up here to the panel support, and that will keep a lot of that stuff hidden and out of the way. And I'm actually going to I'm going to start in the middle. Okay, alright, there's my curtain. Yeah, so I'm going to start in the middle of the frame and work my way out. That way, I make sure that it's equidistant on both sides. So I'm just going to fold this in half, find my middle point here, and this is going to get stapled right into the middle of the cabin. I'm going to get up in there is a tricky question. Sorry, I have to reload my staple gun here. And I'm just going to kind of tuck this down into there. We'll come over to the other side. There is still a bit of wire tidying that I'm going to have to do. But you can kind of see... Oh man, I thought I had switched over to the other camera. But you can kind of see where I'm going with that curtain there. It just kind of helps hide, you know, a lot of that cabling. Just kind of some of those wires are going to need taped up in place. get them from the other side. It might be a little bit easier. I'm just going to take some a little bit of black duct tape, and we're just going to tape some of these wires up to the underside of the panel support. I'm not as bendy as I used to be. A little bit of cable management there. How's that look? Looks a lot better, I think. So that's essentially it. Just some black tape, black curtain, wrapping around the panel support, hiding a lot of those wires. I still see a couple that I need to tidy up. And I'll probably actually utilize some zip strips and do that. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and fire the unit up. And we're actually going to load into X-Plane, and we're actually going to, load into the plane, and I'm going to show you why I need to do some redesigning, and I'll show you what I overlooked in the process and explain what I overlooked. That way you don't go through the whole thing and realize you overlooked the same thing. So let me fire up the X-Plane computer and get the displays on and get things loaded up. I'll go ahead and show you the new. I was gonna order a whole new set of placards, but I was able to repurpose a lot of them from the old unit, and my placard set actually came with, I don't want to call them duplicates, but different designs for the same component. So I just used the variations. Like some of them had, like a square that might go around a component, while others might just have a single sticker type deal. So I utilized what I had. I'm not going to buy another placard set. I decided I wasn't going to. I was going to, but then I decided I wasn't going to. There's no need to right now, at least currently. I did call Screaming Arrow Graphics, and nothing has changed as far as their development, so I would have received the exact same set, and that's what I was curious about. So, okay, that's on. Let me go ahead and get the big display turned on. And then what we're going to do is go into the cabin, and I need to do a quick audio test because we're going to try and use a headset. It'd be a lot easier for me to talk to you with the headset on and the mic right there as opposed to the desktop mic. Let me switch over here. Let's see. Properties. Microphone, okay. Alright, let's see if... I'm going to mute this mic here. Audio test. Audio test. Alright, I see my green bar moving, so hopefully audio is working. And I'm going to just hop on in here. Let me update this real quick. So, what I found out that despite no matter how accurate my measurements were, remember me saying that the only discrepancy is that my panel is 2 inches taller than the actual panel. What that's doing as a result is because I have to essentially raise my viewpoint so that I can see my cowling over my glare shield. That's raising the whole plane. And what's happening is, whereas, physically, measurement-wise, our top of the window is right here at our display, which is what we wanted, because I have to raise the cowling, that's raising everything. So when I'm looking out the sides, I'm not seeing essentially what I need to see. And I'm just going to kind of demonstrate and show you in a first-person point of view what the issue actually is and what I'm going to do to combat that issue. The other problem I'm having, stand by. Had to bring you on the other side here. Is right here where we would normally be able to look out and see the outside world. I'm being detracted. I'm being detracted because I have this big separation now. Previously, let me just go and grab. Let me just go and grab something and I'll show you. Alright, this was my original A-pillar covering, and it was essentially, kind of right there. So you really couldn't see the outside world because it was being blocked off. So what I'm gonna need to do now is, as much as it's going to affect the actual true physical measurements of our physical cockpit, I really hate doing it, but I'm gonna have to because I want to. So the original A-pillars that I made for this unit, they're gonna be scooted forward. Okay, they're gonna have to be. But to illustrate what I'm saying, okay, why is this? Okay, stand by. Okay, there it is. So, and I did a minor screen calibration. I'm going to do a whole other tutorial on this. I'm not going to talk about screen calibration right now. But it's all about line of sight and viewpoint. As we go lower, as we go higher, that sort of messes with our our flow, I guess would be the best way to put it. So, and in fact, it might help if I open up the original, or if I do, stand by here. What I ended up doing, at least for now, it's going to be better if I show you the original, how it's supposed to be. Save, developer, reload aircraft. Okay, there it is. Alright. So I've got a nice sight picture out the front. I can see my cowl. Everything looks good. Jeffrey B, hello. Welcome in. 6 panel doors and paddle. Yeah. What's that? Turn right base and see my 6 panel door there. I got a good sight picture of the cowling. But in order to get this good sight picture, because my panel is physically 2 inches taller, okay, I had to bring that viewpoint, up some to accommodate for that. But I had to bring that up about 2 inches, and what that's doing is that's throwing everything else off. So whereas, this one is still attached, so I can kind of demonstrate it over here. Whereas this air vent is where it needs supposed to be physically. If we look up, we're nowhere near lined up with our actual air vent that's being portrayed in the simulator. And if I were to, one of the things I thought about doing is, okay, maybe I'll just go into Plane Maker and let's drop these wings a couple inches. Okay. So let's take a look out my side here. Okay. I can see, I can see some grass. I can see where the pavement meets the grass. I can see, the taxiway there. Good, great, and dandy. What I can't see is my ailerons. Okay. I can't see my flaps. I can't see any of my flight controls that I need to see to do a visual check on when I'm running through, my run up and check my flight controls. I want to see those things move. I want to ensure that they're working. So I thought to myself, okay, well, let's go into Plane Maker here, and then let's just drop these wings down, a vertical reference of about 0.2. Okay. So let's save that, and we'll go ahead and reload this current aircraft. Alright. Okay, great. We lowered our wings. Our air vent is now more in line with our air vent over here. But what's happened, even if I come up, I still don't see I still can't see my ailerons or my flaps. And the reason is, all we did is we simply lowered the object, and we're simply looking at this. Now we're looking more at the side of the object. We need to be underneath that wing. Okay? We need to be underneath that wing to be able to see the flaps come down and see the ailerons move. We cannot be beside the root of the wing. We need to be underneath that wing. So let me go ahead and, at least for now, let's bring these wings back up to where they are supposed to be. Okay. Then reload this. And then I'm going to exit out of X-Plane. I'm going to load up my LCD calibration software. Okay. And again, I'm going to do a whole tutorial on this. I'm not going to go into a lot of details as I'm doing this right now. But essentially, the way Immersive LCD Pro works is it takes a fixed point of view. Okay, you're in a fixed point of view. This gray dot, that's your point of view. Okay, and you essentially tell it. You're physically measuring everything about your displays. You're measuring its length, its width. You're measuring its bezel size. You're measuring, how far the display is from your viewpoint, how high it is, how low it is. You're measuring all that stuff in a physical sense with an actual tape measure. And you're plugging these numbers into Immersive LCD. So if I were to actually plug in the correct numbers instead of what I fudged to make it to make my horizons look correct, if I were to plug in the physically correct numbers, so instead of 9.5 inches, we're going to make it 7.5 inches. Okay, and we're going to calculate these new viewpoints. Yeah, immersive LCD is not for the faint of heart. That is definitely for sure. But okay, now we've actually physically measured. We've got our numbers in here accurate. Okay, where the displays are where they physically are. So we're going to now export these new view settings, and you can export for FSX, Prepare 3D, MSFS. You can export for any any simulator that's out there, DCS World. Um, the only thing I'm concerned about is X-Plane Multi-View. So I'm going to export that data, and then I need to tell Immersive LCD where which display gets what particular data. So I know that if you picture what you're looking at is what Windows sees your display arrangement. Okay, so this is my left window. I'm gonna tell it where to find its calibration file, and we're just gonna go here, and it's LCD1 calibration, and then the same with my front display, and the same with my right display. Okay. This was the rear display. It's not hooked up, so we're not doing anything right now with that. So now that I told immersive LCD, and this is in the background. This has nothing to do with X-Plane per se. Windows is warping the display based on what immersive LCD is telling it to do. But I need to tell X-Plane what those settings are that immersive LCD calibrated. So I'm going to go in here to simulators, click on X-Plane views, and this I already know which displays are which. And the more you have here, the more of a guessing game that it becomes. And I've yet to figure out a good way to figure out which one of these, long strings of numbers corresponds with each display. But once you have the choreography figured out, it's just a matter of knowing which ones to click. So I'm going to apply these three views into X-Plane, and then open X-Plane back up. And what Immersive LCD just did, if we go in here to settings, it creates a text document, a view settings document, and it puts all of those, it puts all of your field of view and vertical and offsets, it puts all of that right in there for you. It takes all the guesswork out of it. Okay. So X-Plane now knows what viewpoints and everything. We'll go ahead and resume our last flight. Okay, here we are back in X-Plane looking at what, based on those numbers inside the X-Plane settings windows, visual setting windows, this is what we see by default without any screen warping applied. Okay, Um, you can see that the front horizon there, is nowhere near in line with the with the horizon over here anymore. When we warp it, F4 to warp it, okay, our horizons line up, okay, great. Okay. Now we're back under our wing. I can see my aileron. I can see my flap coming down. This is stuff that I want to see, that I need to be able to check. Especially in, we go through and do our flight controls and run up. We need to see these things. Okay. But the problem is, we're low, and if we were to adjust our viewpoint to where our air vent is lining up with our air vent, which we're not going to be able to get that high because of the limitation. If we go up, we're now looking at the root of our wing again, which is obscuring the view of our aileron. We might be able to see a little bit of the flap, but it's most certainly obscuring the view of our aileron, and that's the problem. So, in order to combat that, instead of hold on just a second. Sorry, I forgot that I turned it down. I turned it down. Thanks, Jeffrey, for pointing that out. Um, Remodel the wings in Blender with a little negative dihedral. Thought about doing that. I can't even make a donut. I can't even make a donut in Blender. I've got no idea how. I tried following Blender Guru. Um, as I don't think I have enough time to actually sit down and dedicate to that. But I totally get where you're going. So instead of doing that, I'm actually going to model the physical cockpit around the simulator now. So what's going to happen is, since I can't necessarily shift, well, I could shift everything down to make my wings match my side windows, but then all I'm looking out the front is just the top of the propeller. I'm losing that cowling, which I don't want to say I need. I've become so accustomed to, even in a real plane. I raise my seat up to see above that cowl. Jeffrey B. and I do appreciate your resubscription to the channel a whole year. Thank you so much. Man, I can't believe how fast time flies. Greatly appreciated. So what I'm going to do, not tonight, but what's going to happen, okay, you can see our air vent right here, okay, well, maybe you can see it over here. We're going to shift this whole thing up. Okay. So this whole monitor and everything is now going to be, it's going to come up. So where the top of my monitor frame is here, the top of the door is going to be the new top of the monitor frame. That's going to give me those extra couple of inches that I need. That way when I plug that information into Immersive LCD Pro and I come in and load up into the physical cockpit, the 3D model here, the top of our wing, our wing root, the part that we're not going to be, the part that we don't see from the real plane even, the wing root will essentially be this area and then this area here. That's going to be the new root of the wing. And in doing so, by taking all of this stuff, the windows and the air vents, what that's going to do is bring everything into alignment with the 3D flight model that's inside of X-Plane. And I'm only gonna have to make it fit the one plane, because if I get it to fit the one plane, the rest are all gonna follow suit, because they're all virtually the same that I fly. The 172, the 182, the 206, the 210, they all have that high wing, single engine profile. And honestly, the viewpoints between those four that I just mentioned, the variation between them is almost slim to none. I've loaded them all in my previous version of the sim, and there was no real corrections that needed to be made to any of the viewpoints or the viewpoint frustrums. So that's what's going to happen, along with, and we'll go back in here now. So along with, and I think I've got two mics going now. So along with not only moving these windows up, okay, we're going to shift them forward just a bit as well. That's going to give me a bit more, you got a bad angle there. That's going to give me a bit more sighting of my strut, okay. But more importantly, it's not going to detract me as bad from the outside world. Because remember, we have this big whole open area now that we didn't have before. But I put there because that's how I measured in the plane. Oh, Emstein. I thought to myself, okay, well, what if I just did away with the 32-inch and grabbed a couple 55-inch, and then I could bring it, all the way up here and be all the way back here. The problem there is that because it doesn't bend in half, it's going to keep the doors fixed. I have no, I was trying to rack my brain to think how I could do that. Okay, well, what if I spaced them out away from the frame some? But it's still pivoting on a fixed point. okay? And that wouldn't have allowed, it wouldn't have allowed, allowed the door to open. I would have almost need to have invent some sort of contraption to where I'd be able to slide the display away, open the door, and then slide the display back up into place. And I'm not saying it couldn't be done. It's just a lot of, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it could be done. It's just not something that I'd necessarily want to get. I'd want to have to do. But as you can kind of see here, we look at our air vent that you can kind of see on the display there. It's practically in line with right here. So that's what's going to happen. We're gonna move the display up and fill this gap, and we're gonna move the displays forward. And since the front display is a lot closer, I'm not gonna have to put the air vents as far out to keep from being detracted. So, but I'm still going to bring it up, right to about right where it contacts my glare shield. Because if I do that, then when I'm sitting in here, this area here is going to be covered, because the display will be closer here. I mean, it's not going to be all the way up to here, because we're still going to have, the door frame and then the door itself. So we have our air vent and then 3 inches of lumber here. So you figure, you're going to have sort of that sort of configuration before the display. And I'm fine with that. Like I said, this particular frame would be absolutely phenomenal if you're in a 180 degree, spherical projection, to where, you could look out and you can still see, because you're in that spherical projection. I thought about going that route. Still a lot of money that I don't really want to invest right now. Not saying that something like that wouldn't happen down the line, but A, I don't have the room in my new building here. I don't have the space in my new room here for it. And B, as cool as I've seen some of the projection, and speaking of projection, for those of you that don't follow Project Warthog on YouTube, definitely check that out. But speaking of projection, the bad part, the thing that I don't like about projection is that you need the room to be dark. You need a darker environment, and then you have what I'll call recurring costs with projection, because those lamps are going to have to be replaced. I run an Optima ultra short throw in my living room, and I know for a fact the lamps for those things aren't cheap. So that's the plan. We're going to keep our length. We're still going to come. We're still going to come all the way back here. We're just going to come forward some. So I'm probably going to have to extend my roof as well. No probably about it. I know I'm going to have to extend the roof, because my roof currently terminates right here where the original A-pillars were. Okay? That's where the roof terminates. But once we move these forward, going to have to extend that roof out some. So these are going to get moved forward and up. So I'm going to make new, I'm going to cut out these things, these wooden things, and just, we'll use the same profile. We still want the same taper. We still want it to be, taper the same. It's just going to be about 2 inches taller. And then it's just a matter of taking taking these off and screwing them into the new pieces of lumber that I cut out. So that's going to get shifted forward. The whole thing's going to get shifted forward and shifted up. And I've got that slated for Friday after work. And we'll be doing that live as well, so feel free to drop in. I got a lot of stuff that's going to happen this weekend. We're going to redo some of this frame, and start measuring out for our internal wall coverings, and I should be able to at least repurpose the door skins from the previous version because this door frame is smaller, so I'll be able to at least repurpose those. I might even be able to still utilize the original roof covering as well. I'm not sure because I'm going to need to measure, but we should be able to do that. The placards, like I said, they showed up, and I went ahead and applied those, and we'll go over that real quick as we sit here and look at the panel. We got our primer placard down on there. Engine or manual primer. Got the carb heat placard, alternate static air. I was able to placard my fuel select to reflect the appropriate 19 gallons that's available in the Foxtrot model. Didn't have any cow flap label placards because obviously the 172 didn't have cow flaps unless it's a Hawk XP. So I made some of those with my label maker. But put the takeoff and landing checklist in there. ELT placard. Got the Virtual USA Flying Club placard. A couple other stickers. So I think overall the panel turned out exceptionally well. Got our trim placards down on here. I really do. I really think it turned out well. Glove box is functional. POHs are inside of there. But again, because I didn't think through, like I said, I knew the panel was 2 inches taller. I knew it from the get-go. I did not take into consideration that because of that, I'd have to raise my cowling, and in raising my cowling, I'm raising everything. So yeah, I did get the 650 set up properly. Let's go back over here to the other computer. We'll talk a bit more about the GTN 650. Then we're going to fire this girl up and take her for a quick spin. The new GTN 650 hardware came from Real Sim Gear, and let's see, support. General setup guides. Let me share my screen with you real quick. I don't want that video. Okay. This one's pertaining to Generation 1, but the setup is essentially the same. As long as you follow these instructions properly, then setting up your new touchscreen avionics device, be it the 650 or 750, is very, very easy. The 650 software, you need to have you need to have the 650 or 750 from Reality XP. It is a separate program that runs beside your simulator, whether it's X-Plane, MSFS, P3D. It's a separate program utilizing the actual Garmin trainer software. So the caveat is, because it utilizes the training software, your database may not be fully up to date, or as up to date as it could be. My understanding is that the 650 and 750, because they're still new and Garmin still supports them, that training software will get updated periodically, which brings navigation updates. Since the 430 is no longer supported by Garmin, they stopped issuing that trainer software, and Reality XP has, you can't update their 430 database anymore. Which is why I'm using the 430 that's integrated into X-Plane. So if I absolutely need up-to-date nav data, I can go ahead and utilize the default 430 that's inside of X-Plane. What else? Oh, the other circuit board that I forgot to show you at the beginning comes from Gear Falcon. It's an Etsy store. I know they have a website. I don't think the website is maintained, but I did purchase the controller that I showed you, the one that I showed you inside of the pedestal. That's one of these controllers. And again, it's just a simple USB style. You plug it in, and then it gives you, different, you can have potentiometers or buttons on a couple of these. You got a slider. It gives you 2 slidings, 3 rotations on this particular one, and then 4 buttons, or you can have 9 buttons, whatever combination you want to use. This is the other joystick controller that's integrating. So for digital, again, digital switches are utilizing this controller. All of my analog switches are utilizing this controller. I've just found that the Gear Falcon, since it's newer technology, it handles the digital switches better. And by digital, it's a type of signal, and your components will generally say, your switch that you buy or your button that you get, it'll generally tell you, right there in the packaging, whether it's a digital component or an analog component. The Gear Falcon board handles both just fine. The Desktop Aviator board handles the analog components, not so much digital very well. So, that being said, let's go ahead and actually see if we can't get this thing to at least get around the pattern once. I haven't actually flown it yet. I did a short, I did fire it up briefly yesterday just to make sure that all of my cabling and connections were good, but I haven't actually flown it yet. So we'll give it a shot. I don't know. I don't have the GoPro hooked up, so I don't know how well it's gonna look. I mean, essentially, You know, this is going to be kind of the viewpoint that you'll get. Let me try and turn some of these lights down here. That's still pretty bright there, isn't it? Let me try something here. I think I know the problem. Properties. There it is. Low light. Yeah, I don't know if that worked out any better or not. Yeah, that just doesn't look all that great. It's very washed out. That's alright. We're gonna try and give it a go. Let me... go ahead and we'll fire up Air Manager, get the instruments going. Fire up the trim wheel. And let me see here. I'm gonna see if I can't get this. I'm gonna see if I can't get this GoPro to actually fire up. And then I think I have a clamp here. Yeah. If we can get this GoPro going, then we'll use this camera. Okay. Let's see if I can do this here. Stand by. Cockpit, where is... Let's see. Alright. Let's add a new source. Video capture device. Alright, stand by. Okay, sweet. So now, I'm hoping that with the GoPro, will give us a better... Okay. It's a bit better. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. That's not perfect. I can tell you right now, it's not perfect. I can clearly see. I can clearly see where the sides, the side monitors are not in line with the front display. So when tell you what, let me just go sit in here. And then, let me see here. Okay. Alright, bear with me. I'll move this all the way down to the bottom. And then we'll take this. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Then we'll take this. Make that smaller. Kind of like so. We'll take this. Move here, kind of like so. Yeah, might work there, something like that. Alright, that was kind of, yeah, I think that'll work out alright. Okay, but we can kind of see, again, if you're looking at the panel, you can kind of see to the right and to the left, below the front display there, where that, where the opening's at. And that's something that I don't like. That's something that, that's not a flight that I want to necessarily bring to you guys either. I pride myself in how immersive and how accurate and how visually appealing, it looks when we're flying, and tell you what, let me just go hop into the cockpit and we'll finish discussing, but I do need to take a quick break for just a moment, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, here we are. Let me go and grab my knee pad, knee board, because I need my checklist, because I can't tell you when the last time I flew anything was. Stand by. Alright. Let's see. checklist isn't even in here. It's over there on the desk. Okay. Well, with the GoPro in its wide angle, we can clearly see how, you know, our physical air vent is lower than this air vent depicted, the simulated air vent there. So that's why, again, we're gonna raise them. We're gonna raise the windows. We're gonna build our physical frame now to fit the virtual model. Whereas before we were hoping to fit the virtual model into our physical cockpit. Um, but I don't think that's gonna happen the way I wanted it to. So we're gonna kind of go the other way now. Let me go ahead and start up my flight controls here. Okay. And then let me just reposition myself off of the runway. Let's grab some rear weather. And then we're going to go over to my parking spot. Corey, welcome in. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. And welcome to the channel, by the way. I was just sitting here discussing um, discussing I've discussed a multitude of things, but we're getting ready to kind of go on a test flight, and I know you just showed up, and I know you have a few questions, so um, we're gonna do one in the pattern real quick, Corey, and then we'll take and kind of go over what I've discussed a little bit already, and go from there. But yeah, let's just do that real quick. I wanted to position off of the runway so that when I connect to VATSIM, um, you know, we're not on the runway there. Oh, I don't. Let me get rid of this. Alright, connect. We're gonna connect, okay, to 8033 Foxtrot, type 172. Okay. Alright, so again, since we use immersive LCD, what you're seeing now is the uncalibrated, the unwarped, unwarped displays. And again, this is once immersive LCD plugs the information into X-Plane, this is what we get. And then we will press our warping key, and that warps the displays and brings everything geometrically corrected. That way, as things, and I know everyone has noticed, and I can say everyone because hardly no one uses immersive LCD. But as your buildings, as you pass them, as they're coming to the edge of your display, they tend to get larger, and that's just distortion.
There's really no way to get around that by default. So let's go ahead, and again, since it has been a month, let's see, my last event that I hosted for the Virtual USA Flying Club was back in January. I think that was January 8th when we flew to Trigger Gap. So it has been well over a month. So please bear with me, because I am going to run through the checklist like we do each and every single time. I'm not going to go over the safety briefing, but just to keep the acronym in my head, we have seat belts, air vents, fire extinguisher, exits, traffic and talking, and if you have any questions. So that's just a quick acronym of safety, and then we can go over the PAVE checklist. We can go over, there's a lot of personal checklists you can go over, other than just safety. Let's see, I haven't really, let me see if X camera, let's see, plugins. Alright, we're going to have to exit out of X-Plane. I need to turn a plugin back on. So let me disconnect. And then we're going to go ahead and Alt F4 out of here. And then I need to go into X Organizer. And we're going to turn on my X camera. Go to plugins, X camera. We'll turn that on so that we can do my walk around. Okay. X camera is a neat little program that will essentially you can create so many different views and assign views and different categories, but for me I like it because I can real quickly run through a walk around flow with those predefined views. Then I don't have to sit here and fumble with the keyboard and the mouse trying to move around, and because that gets kind of tedious and a little bit frustrating, having to do it like that. But since we do need to walk around our aircraft and ensure everything's functional each and every time, X camera really kind of helps me do that. And so I guess this is technically going to be our experimental flight, I guess. Okay, again, this is unwarped, and this is a warped fashion. Okay. And again, immersive LCD is taking all of the information, as far as length, width, height of our displays, placement from our fixed eye point, distance from each other. It takes all that into account. But as you can see, I just did a quick and crude one, and you can see it's still not quite right because our horizon is not even here. Our horizon is not level at all. So in order to do that, I'd go back into immersive LCD and move these displays up, okay? And you'd notice that to bring our horizon, if we were to bring our horizon line up to match this one, it's actually going to bring this viewpoint down, and we're going to lose that wing. We're going to lose our aileron view, and we're going to lose our flap view, which is why we're going to be moving the whole display up. So, X-Plane 12 is different from X-Plane 11 in the way it draws your cockpit. In X-Plane 11, in order to kind of get everything to match up, we had to go through into PlaneMaker, and first we'd have to kind of see the viewpoint without, we would essentially need to go view, change external, what's it called? Forward with no display. So forward with no display keeps everything symmetrical. Picture, okay, and the best way I can explain this is if you take a wide angle photo of a cockpit, okay, you have a symmetrical photo. You have a symmetrical photo. What a lot of developers do in X-Plane, in order to provide the virtual pilot with more view of the panel, okay, they will adjust the viewpoint to where it would be asymmetrical. You would see more of the panel than you'd see of the sky, and that was, you know, a lot of developers did that, and um, for just for that reason, to give the pilot more view of the instrumentation. It works out great for a single display. And in X-Plane 11, for multi-views, what we'd have to do is we'd have to go into our forward with no display, and I'd physically take a piece of masking tape and I'd place it on my display where my horizon line is. Then what I would have to do is go back into my forward with 3D view, 3D panel, okay, that would shift the horizon. Then we'd have to go into Plane Maker and adjust the view. It's not the pilot's viewpoint, okay, it's actually called it is called standard viewpoint cockpit. It's called view centers, okay. Oh, sweet, and they even changed it. So it now says for old 2D cockpit panels only, and that's true because X-Plane 12 now completely disregards the view center. Okay, so X-Plane 12, we don't have to worry about doing all of that BS anymore. It just works right out of the box as long as you're using an aircraft that's appropriate for X-Plane 12. We don't have to fiddle with trying to adjust our horizon anymore because those viewpoints that developers put in there to provide that asymmetrical view are being ignored now. So now, by default, X-Plane 12 provides you an essentially a symmetrical view of your environment. Okay, so viewpoints are ignored in X-Plane 12. So I was talking with someone earlier that was using an 11 aircraft in 12, and I can only assume that because it looked different in 12 than it did in 11 for him, and that's because his 11 aircraft model itself was actually physically altered in Plane Maker, okay, to fit his cockpit for X-Plane 11. And I know the ACF file that he's using. I actually helped with that particular file. But what was done, okay, is everything was shifted down. And that's why when he loaded up that plane in X-Plane 12, he couldn't see his cowling anymore, because in Plane Maker, that particular objects, all those objects have been moved physically down. So while it wasn't being ignored in X-Plane 11, okay, it's being taken into account in X-Plane 12. So if they were to go into that particular ACF file and move everything back up to where its original location is, then if we loaded that 11 aircraft in X-Plane 12, it would look like it needs to look. I hope all of that made some sort of sense, mostly. Okay, let's go over this. It should have... Alright, outstanding. We better walk around back. Okay, let's make sure we have fuel. Let's go ahead and check here. I don't have my controller station with me, my iPad, so we're actually going to have to physically check it. Weight, balance, and fuel. Alright, we are full fuel. Pilot, let's tell you what, you and I on board, your flight bag, my flight bag in the back. We're not going to take any baggage today here in the pattern, but we do have about 20 pounds between your bag and my bag. I do like to cross-fill my aircraft, so if I'm sitting in the left seat, I like my flight bag in the right rear so I can reach back and grab it. I don't like it directly behind me. But total takeoff weight today is 1,991 pounds out of a max of 2,300. Flight time is just under 4 hours. Let's go and apply these weight and balance changes. We notice that we squatted down just a little bit because we added that additional weight in there. And let's go ahead and get some lights on. Get some lights on, get some flappers down here. My Foxtrot model has 40 degrees of flaps. They are not detented. It's a momentary contact, so the longer they hold that flap switch down, the longer, those flaps come down indefinitely. So there's no 10, 20, 30. It's whatever I want to put in it. There's 35, there's 34, 33. Whatever the case may be. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at our baggage door. That is secure. We'll move along, check let me scoot it up here so I can reach my pedals. We'll go ahead and check our left rudder cable. That looks tight. Rudder's moving, elevator's free. Beacon and anti-collision light seem to be working. Our right rudder cable's tight. Our VOR antennas are in place. We'll take a look at our right flap. That's nice and tight. Right aileron hinges look good. You can see that we have a strobe on the right. Green nav light on the right. That looks good there. Our right main looks good. Front main looks good. Exhaust is secure. Prop and spinner. That spinner's nice and shiny today. Man, I can always see myself in that thing. Running my finger along the fins of the cylinder head, looking for any sort of pitch changes that could indicate a cracked cylinder. Everything sounds good there. Our static source is free and clear. Our pitot tube is warm to the touch, so let's get this pitot heat off and get that load off. Our stall horn and taxi light and landing light, those are all working. Let's go and get those loads off there. We'll take a look at our left and see that we have a strobe on the left with a red. So nav and strobe working. Let's get those loads off. I'll take a look at our left aileron. Those hinges look good. Our left flap is tight. Our left main looks good. And since we did just get full fuel, we'll check our fuel caps and ensure they are installed in a streamlined position. And they are. So let's have a seat back in the plane. Okay. And we'll get our master switch off for now and leave our beacon on. Alright, exterior walk around looked good. I didn't find any bird nests, surprisingly, as long as she's been sitting here on the ramp. Been about a month or so. Okay. Exterior summary, final walk around. Everything's good. On the PIC, everything's good to go. Gonna forego the passenger brief since we did just do a quick safety acronym briefing. But check time is 106.9er. Circuit breakers, they're all in. Circuit breakers are all in, and alternate static air is in. Okay. That completes our interior checklist. So let's move right along to our startup checklist. Seat track, we are in there nice and tight. Eventually this whole seat frame will get bolted down once everything is done. Okay, seats tight. Avionics are off. Carb heat is off. Mixture's gonna go full rich. Let's get 3 or probably 4 on the primer. Okay. Let's go slight throttle. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 in the primer. Okay, primer is in and locked. How's the viewpoint back there? Do we need to come up forward? Dreamland, hello. Welcome on in. Getting ready to do our first experimental flight. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. We still have some work to do on our side views, and there are some things that still need addressed. But I do at least want to make sure that I've got all of my wiring and everything plugged in correctly, and all the controls are working. But we are going to have to do some physical work to the physical frame here, which I'll discuss again after we get back in here. Okay, we are on the ramp at my home airport for Indian Niner here in Morrow County. My name is Michael. I will be your virtual pilot today. We are in the middle of our startup checklist. We just primed our engine. Brakes are on. Clear prop. Yeah, clear on the left and clear on the right. Clear behind, clear front. Okay, master's going to come on. Beacon is already on from our walk around. Brakes are on and mags to start. 2 memory items I'm looking for are RPM and oil pressure. If I don't have either of those right away on startup, I am shutting her down. Here we go. Clear. Alright, right away we have RPM. We do have oil pressure. It's in the green. Everything's looking good there. Okay. Alright, oil pressure's good. Light says required. Let's go ahead and get our landing light on so that we can be seen. Taxi light, just for the heck of it. Okay. Seat belts. Get that on here. Okay, seat belt. Got that. Flaps, let's get our flappers up. I need to know, how is my audio compared to the simulator audio? Do we need to turn X-plane down? You hear me okay? Got a good audio balance? Again, this is a kind of new setup here, so hopefully everything is working good audio-wise. Okay, flaps are up. Alright, we are on our pre-taxi checklist. Let's go and get our avionics on. That's nice. Okay, let's go ahead and turn some engine volume down just slightly here, because it is kind of loud for me as well. Okay, we'll connect to VATSIM. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not the VATSIM icon. There's the VATSIM icon. Let's connect to VATSIM. Same aircraft type. Alright, Montreal, Toronto Center. I know that the Virtual USA Flying Club is having an event tonight up in Canada. So I'm not surprised to see Montreal and Toronto on. Who else we got? Memphis, DC, and Boston. So we're not going to benefit from any of those services this evening. So it's going to be Unicom for us, which is just fine. I get to play with the new 650 here. Continue. 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 Fuel on board. What? Wow, that's cool. 19, 19, 38. And it matches. How cool is that? I had no idea it had that information. Okay. Avionics are on. ATIS AWAS. We are probably a bit too far to grab Marion's weather. We'll try and grab that up in the air, because remember, you know, ATIS, well, mostly AWAS, ATIS, is but unless it's digital, but a lot of that still works off of VHF communications requiring line of sight, and we're not going to get that here on the ground. I'd be surprised if we do, but I am going to just kind of see 119.75. Enter. Yeah, it's quiet. It's kind of what I thought. What's this message thing? Okay. Map. Okay. Altimeter, I know my field elevation is 1,086 feet, so as long as I set my altimeter to field elevation, I know that we'll be good to go. Okay. I'm showing right around 30.2-ish. Oh, my tablet's out of the plane, so let me just confirm with ForeFlight here. .22 live ATIS, live altimeter out of Mike November Marion, so we're good to go. Got some accurate info there. Okay, transponder, let's get transponder on. Let's walk altimeter mode. Brakes we'll test on the roll as well as our attitude and turn coordinator. Let's go ahead and set our heading indicator to compass, which is right around there. And ADS-B is tied into my nav lights with the sky beacon, so let's turn our nav lights on. And that does look like it completes our pre-taxi checklist. Oh cool, it also gives me a transmit light. So when I hit my push to talk button, there's a little TX that lights up in my comm window. Well, that's good to know. We can confirm that we're transmitting that way without even having to look at the XPilot plugin then. Awesome. My understanding is that we can also take hold of the transponder through it. See, transponder, let's just try 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter. Sure did. How about that? Okay, so if I hit VFR, 1200 mode, let's go altitude reporting, hit enter. Huh, I'll be. Man, I'm gonna have fun with that. I'm gonna get spoiled with that thing. Then I'm gonna get in my plane and like, we'll get in the actual plane and be like, where's all my cool shiny stuff? That's what's gonna happen. I can almost guarantee it. I'll be convincing the flight school to outfit the 172 with a 650 XI, just cause. Okay, let's make sure that our flap indicator is working properly. Okay, it is. Let's make sure that we can adjust. Okay. Alright, so I think I've got all of my panel connections correct. Heading bug, that's working, that's working. Okay, so I think the steam panel is all plugged in, wired up correctly. Yeah, yep, that's only about, $30,000, something like that, maybe, for one of them. They're not cheap. And gosh, I hate this too. So, there's currently sort of, I don't want to call it a bug, it's sort of buggy, but it's not really a bug. X-Plane 12 populates AI aircraft in open vacant ramp starts, but unfortunately there's a bit of a size discrepancy. Here lately it's populating larger aircraft than what's been specified in WED. When I specify a size A general aviation aircraft, I don't expect to see a twin engine jet, I might expect to see a single engine prop. But, okay. Let me see now. Let me see if COM2 is working. Let me try. Tell you what. We'll try it up. Yeah. Let me just try. Dang it. I need. Dang it. Let me just go grab my tablet. It's got the 4-flight. Parking brake is set. Yeah, gosh, I'm so spoiled sometimes. Let me go grab 4-flight so we can get that up here. I need to grab some VOR frequencies because I want to make sure that COM2 is tied in properly to our navigation radio. So, you'll hang tight here on the ramp and I will be right back. Sorry about that delay there. Let's go ahead and get set up here. Okay. Let's get her plugged in. Make sure charging works. Alright, and we're charging. Good to go there. Alright, let's get scooted back up. Seatbelt back on. Our oil temperature has come up here. Okay. What do I want to do? What was I doing? I wanted to check to make sure COM2 and NAV2 were working. The Bud VOR 109er.8. 109er.8. Okay, our needle is swinging. Give me a heading of roughly 310. Okay, so COM and NAV2 are working. Pretty sure Appleton. Let's see. Something's got DME around it. Maybe Mansfield has DME. Yeah, Buckeye does not seem to have DME. Let's try Appleton 116.7. Okay, Appleton's got DME. DME is working. 25.6 DME from Appleton, so NAV2 is working. Let's see, select waypoint. Let's just try the Bud VOR. Where's my, okay, backspace. Buckeye. Activate. That's working. 11 nautical miles. Outstanding. Outstanding, B-Pain. Congratulations. Okay. I think we're good to go. We've confirmed nav radios are working. We've confirmed comm radios transmitting. We're squawk VFR and altimeter reporting mode. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Let's get our manual brakes on. Parking brake off. Okay. Brake test. Okay, brakes are working. Let's take a look at that windsock. Let's see what it's doing. Yeah, looks like 10 is going to be preferred. Yeah, I'd have to say 10 is going to be preferred runway. So, I can already tell that, like, I literally just passed the windsock and it jumped right over to this display immediately. So that tells me that in my calibration I'm still not quite right, because it should have taken you know, at least half a second to a second for it to bridge that gap, and it did not. So the display is going to need to be, you know, inside this calibration software shifted one way or the other to make that gap more of a gap. But again, we're not going to deal with a whole lot with calibrating the displays until I get them shifted forward, and we'll talk more about that here in just a second. Once we get this initial flight done. Okay. Stop here. Moore County traffic, experimental 8033 Foxtrot, back taxi 10 more.
Approaching runway, entered runway 10, 3,000 feet remaining.
Let's go over here to the pad, we'll turn around, do a run up. Do a run up, and then do one in the pattern. Make sure everything's good to go. Outside air temperature right now, -1 degree Celsius. So we are just below freezing. We do have some clouds in the sky, so we need to be aware of possible icing conditions, because, you know, cloud is visible moisture. Let's take a look at our temp dew point spread out of Marion. I'm just kind of curious what that is. Temp -3, dew point -7. You know, so we're relatively close. So let's just keep that in mind. Okay. Run up checklist. Brakes are on. Fuel is on both. Trim is set for takeoff. Flight controls, we're down on the right, up on the left, down on the left, up on the right. Elevator and rudder, which normally we can see in the rear display, that's not there. But we did check it in our walk around, and we confirmed that elevator and rudder were both working. Okay. Flight controls, instruments, everything's looking there. Primer is in and locked. Mixture is in for best power. Looking for 1600 on the tack. Here we go. Brakes are on. Left mag, there's a drop. Back to both. Right mag, there's a drop. Let's get back to both. Carb heat, there's a drop. Let's bring that idle back, all the way back. I want to run it idle with my carb heat on. Are we good? Yep, staying good there. Let's get that back up. Carb heat off. Suction's in the green. Oil pressure, oil temperature both look good. We are charging. We've got good fuel flow. All the numbers are looking good. So let's go ahead and idle back here. We'll check our throttle friction. Alright, run-up checklist is complete. I think we'll be good to go. Moore County traffic, experimental 8033 Foxtrot, taking runway 10, left close traffic tomorrow. Alright, since I'm going to turn this way, make sure final's clear. Final looks clear. Runway is clear. Okay, I am clear for takeoff. Let's get on that center line, Michael. Here we go. Alright, full power. Get ready to put that rudder in to maintain center. Pitch factor is very real in X-Plane 12. Keep that nose planted. Alright, airspeed's coming alive. 60 miles per hour. let's rotate. Let's just let her fly. Alright, positive rate. Positive rate. I'm looking for 80 miles per hour on my climb out. And I'm looking for 1,800 feet before my crosswind. Looks good there. Lift my left wing. Make sure that looks clear. Moore County, Experiment 9033 Foxtrot, left crosswind 10 mile. I already missed that back window. Alright, let's roll out here. That looks good. 2100, let's level off, full power back. We don't need to go so fast in the pattern. With my left wing, looks clear. Let's roll downwind. Morrow County, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, left downwind, 10 Morrow. Okay, so the threshold of my runway 28 just passed me here, and I can already see it here on this side as well. So again, there's still a calibration issue between the side displays and the front. And again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that until, you know, we move them, and I'll explain that part again once we get back on the ground. There's midfield, may as well call it. Moore County, Experiment 033 Foxtrot, midfield, left downwind, 10. Let's do a touch and go, Moore. I've decided that we're going to do more than just one in the pattern. We're going to do a touch and go, and then we're going to head over to my place. 3 Oscar Hotel 7, do a full stop there. There's a good 45, I think. Alright, show times, full power back, it's carpeted on, 1600. I want to trim for about 80 miles per hour. My plane will not come down unless she's doing 80 miles per hour. Alright, my left wing looks clear. Let's roll to a left base. Morrow County, Experiment 033 Foxtrot, turning left base, 10, touch and go, Morrow. Okay, taking a look out this way. I want to make sure that my 10 final approach is clear. Don't see any traffic there. Okay, our backwards base, what I call the backwards base, FAA calls the backwards base, is also clear. People coming in the wrong way for the pattern. And let's roll final approach. Morrow County, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, turning final approach 10, touch and go, Morrow. Yeah, I'm gonna overshot just slightly because again, displays are not quite where they need to be. Alright, what's airspeed right now? 80 miles per hour. It's going to go up 10 degrees of flaps. 1,000, 2, 1,000. Prepare for the bubble up. There it is. I'll put some forward pressure on that elevator. Put some trim in. Keep that airspeed up. Don't need to get that sink rate in. Alright, we got a little bit of a crosswind, not much at all, just a little bit. Oh, there's our sink rate, put some airspeed in. Alright, look all the way into the runway and transition. Okay, full power, carpet off, rudder for center, and we're up again. Remember, you're in landing configuration, and I hate to say it, but a touch and go, if you're not prepared, can be very dangerous. Why? Because you're already coming in that landing configuration. You hit that full power, you're going to come up like a rocket if you don't keep that pressure in. Gotta keep that pressure in. And what I do, okay, is there's the yoke, it's right in that V in my hand. Okay, I'm not gripping that yoke, but I'm definitely keeping that forward pressure in on that elevator. Because again, I am configured for landing. Right, we need a heading of about 240 to roll over into Joe's, my place. Morrow County traffic, Sky OK 033 Foxtrot is clear the pattern, we're departing near to West Morrow. Alright, we're at 1,700 feet, and we need to get up a little bit higher before we fly over Cardington here. My place, 3 Oscar Hotel 7, is a private airstrip. Permission not necessarily required to land, but required to land. However, the second Sunday in October, every year they hold one of the most epic fly-ins in the state of Ohio. So, if you are local, 3 Oscar Hotel 7, every year, the second Sunday, is a fly-in. So that's where we're heading. If you have X-Plane 12, you are going to have this airport in it. X-Plane 11, I did design it, but you'd have to download it from the gateway. It is native in 12. So we're at 2,100 feet, and that is going to be pattern altitude for our landing field as well. There's a lot involved in this 650 I'm going to have to learn. Alright, there's our field. My place traffic, experimental 033 Foxtrot is 3 miles east. We're going to be flying over the field to grab a left crosswind for runway 24, full stop, my place. There's about 13 legal ways to enter a pattern and about 3 that are illegal. So we are entering the pattern by flying directly over the runway. In this particular case. Alright, there's the sawmill. Okay, should be good to go. My place traffic, 8033 Foxtrot, turning left crosswind 24 at my place. Lift my left wing, make sure it's clear. Lift my left wing, make sure it's clear. My place traffic, 8033 Foxtrot, turning left downwind 24, full stop, my place. There she is. My place traffic 8033 Foxtrot, left base 24, my place. There are a couple different ways to make this approach. I prefer to just slip and dip it in. Other people prefer to do a dog leg over the sawmill. Kind of puts them on a 45-degree approach into 24. But we're just gonna slip and dip. Okay, power's out. My place traffic 8033 Foxtrot, turning final approach 24, full stop, my place. Now remember, you're putting your slip in, you're losing altitude real quick. But we're cross-controlling our plane. Way too fast. Way too fast. My place traffic 8033 Foxtrot is going around my place. Inside the box? What do you mean what's going wrong with the orthos? That's right. It's time. Remember, if it's too fast going down, it's always time to go around. Left wing up. Looks clear. My place traffic 8033 Foxtrot. Left crosswind 24. Full stop. My place. No joke, just last year, at this very same airport, at one of these fly-ins I was talking, at the fly-in I was talking to you about, we had one come in hot and heavy, too hot, too heavy, and actually the wing clipped 2 people that were standing in the breakfast line. So that was not good. We're actually going to extend our downwind just a little bit too to get more of a straight on downwind. I misjudged it because again my perception's being skewed a bit. So we're going to extend it to get a bit more established on that runway final approach. Alright, I beam the numbers, so to speak, even though it's turf, there's a threshold. Let's get that power back to 1600, get our carb heat on, and let's just go ahead and put flaps 10 in now. We're in the white arc. Pitch for 80. Looks a lot better there. Let's lift my left wing. Let's roll in the base. Resolated, welcome in. We are on our first experimental flight. It's looking decent. It's looking okay. It's not looking nearly as great as it will. But welcome back into the channel. Thanks for coming in. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Okay, looks clear there. Clear, clear. Alright, there's the sawmill. Okay, there's my runway. So we're just going to kind of dog leg and do both of them here. Let's transition from a forward slip to a side slip. Still going kind of fast. Still going kind of fast. Bleed it off, Michael. Bleed it off, bleed it off, bleed it off. Shit, I don't like that either. Sorry, going around one more time. Sorry for the S word. Not sorry, sorry. We're gonna get it this time. Alright, I got 25 degrees of flaps in, 60 miles per hour. Let me nose down to get a little bit faster. Pull a little bit more flaps out. Get some airspeed. Pull a little bit more flaps out. There we go. One more time. It's... You get so used to flying in a certain configuration, and then, like I said, and most of the problem is my view settings right now. It's just, it's not quite accurate. With my left wing, let's go ahead and make a crosswind now, but we're a little bit low, but that's alright. My place, 8033 Foxtrot, left crosswind, 24, my place. My place traffic, 8033 Foxtrot, turning left downwind, 24 on my place. Alright, there's the field. I think we'll come in over the sawmill. Nah. I've just been too high on final. We'll also come in over the trees, that's fine. I might give it a little bit more time, because I know I'm not as far as what it looks like I am. There we go, lift my left wing to roll base. My place, 8033 Foxtrot, left base 24, full stop, my place. Overshot that too, that's alright. Times 10, wind to wide arc. My place traffic, 33 Foxtrot, final approach 24, full stop, my place. Let's get flaps 2 in. Power's all the way out. We're going in full flaps. It's because the damn wind. Gosh, Michael. The wind's blowing. We're getting a tailwind. That's what's going on. I guarantee it. Okay. We are on the ground safely at 3 Oscar Hotel 7. This is a real airport, and when I designed this airport for an event, you know, I kind of modeled it like it would, like the fly-in actually is. You know, so I have the big hangar here, and this line here, where all these people are standing, is the breakfast line. Well, anyway, this plane came in, and the line was kind of out and wrapped around, and wing clipped a couple people. It was, you know, they were all right. It was just a very, very scary situation at the time. Alright, how we doing? How we doing on time? 9:30? Alright, let's go back home. We'll park the plane and then we'll jump out. I want to discuss a couple things inside of Plane Maker. Because I've got some, I know there's a couple people interested, and then we'll talk about the, again, touch base real quick on remodeling the cabin to accommodate the flight model here. Alright, we got that tree line down there, so I'm going to consider this a short field. Okay. Stein, appreciate it, and thanks for being part of the journey along the way too. Okay, let's go ahead and get flaps up, all the way up. My plane climbs better with no flaps. Some want 10 for short, some want none for short. So we're going none. Brakes, we need to hold these brakes on, okay? And we're going to, you know, I'll put power in, let that power build up. We're going to keep that nose planted on the ground until we get some airspeed come up. We'll try and pop her up off the lawn here. So carpet is off, mixture's full rich, fuel is still on both. Brakes are on, let's go full power, full power, full power. It's going to be hard to hold it on this turf here. Alright, let's let off. Get that rudder in. Keep that nose planted. Alright, there's 40 miles per hour. I need 60 for VR. There's 60. Give me a little bit more. There's 70. Let's pop it up. Get some airspeed. Clear obstacle. Level off. Alright. And this will put us... need to figure out what all these red and yellow triangles are. I know those aren't traffic targets. Morrow County, Sky OK 033 Foxtrot is 3 miles west of the field. We're going to cross over midfield to grab a left downwind, runway 10, full stop, Morrow. In the real world, would somebody make that final approach from here? Yeah. Is it appropriate? No. Do they do it? Yeah. Do I like it? No. Hear this guy calling a 15-mile final approach. Like, get out of here. Alright, there is US Route 42. I kinda like to cross a little bit past the midfield. So if I'm landing 1-0, I kinda like to cross closer to 2-8 than actual midfield. That's simply because that gives me more time to get established on the downwind, get everything set up. Totally off, totally off. Sorry. Morrow County Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot is going to be crossing over the runway to grab left downwind runway 10 Morrow. Where am I at? 2300. Let's get down to pounding altitude, Michael. You know better. Alright, 2100 feet. Okay, looks good. Looks good. Okay. Cockpit coming on. Morrow County 8033 Foxtrot, left downwind 10 full stop Morrow. We're going to turn this downwind. I need to double check heading indicator and compass. I feel like this might have drifted a bit on me. Alright, my left wing looks clear. Morrow County Experimental 8033 Foxtrot, turning left base 10 full stop Morrow. That is the one thing I like about the virtual fly compass unit, is because it does actually work on north, south, and east, west acceleration, deceleration. My left wing looks clear. Morrow County Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, turning final approach 10 full stop Morrow. Now let's do it. Grass or runway.
Short final runway 10.
Let's take the pavement, that's fine. Put flaps 10 in. All the way down the end of the runway, just transition, let it bleed off. Alright, well, we didn't crash and burn. We're gonna go park her back at the ramp, and then we'll go and discuss some things here. Yeah, I should have landed 06 on my place. I don't know what I was thinking. Morrow County Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot is clear, runway 10, taxi ramp Morrow. And that's the other thing that the FAA is cracking down on. You're no longer clear of the active. You're clear of runway whatever. to push her back the rest of the way. Yes, the pattern wasn't terrible. Okay. I didn't call out my gumps. I should have called it out. I did not call out gumps. I should have called it out. I'll ding myself on that. Flaps up. Cockpit off. Strobes off. Okay, avionics going off. G5's going down. Okay, let's get our lights off except our beacon. Make sure to lean. Mags to off. Master to off. Beacon off. Compass off. Okay. Let's head back to the hangar and chit chat.
That's because my mic was muted. Okay, thanks for pointing that out, SimCenter. So yeah, I think the experimental flight went well. We didn't crash, which was a plus. There are some things that still need to be addressed. We can clearly see that our horizon line is broken, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. What we're worried about, since my panel is physically 2 inches taller at 19.5 than the original 17.5, to combat that, I have to raise, lower my viewpoint to, get I had to lower my viewpoint so that you can kind of see the cowling there. You can kind of see it there. I can see it really good from where I'm sitting. But in order to do that, I had to lower my viewpoint. Well, by lowering my viewpoint, what that's doing, that's lowering your viewpoint of everything. So while my frame is to the exact physical dimensions of my 172F, okay, because I had to lower the viewpoint, it has raised up everything. So you can see that our physical air vent, that's part of our wooden frame here on the left, it's below the air vent being depicted in the simulator. So again, what we're gonna have to do to combat that, despite the fact that when I measured this, this is where the window is in the plane. Everything as far as our frame is accurate. And again, the frame would be great in a projection style of setup because, those gaps that are forward of the displays here, you'd be able to see your environment through those in a projected type of environment. I can't because there's just nothing there. So back to the drawing board, and as I said, I'm going to make the simulator match the model. So we'll, I'm still going to use this frame. It's still going to be similar, but this top board, the top of the door is essentially going to be the top of the monitor frame now. So these are going to come up on both sides and shift it forward. The same's going to happen with our air vent setup. They're going to, I'm going to add 2 inches. I'm going to cut new templates out, and they're going to get shifted forward so that when we're looking here, if we have it here, we still have this area, which is very detracting from flying. So again, what we're going to do is move it back forward. We're going to move these forward to our glare shield. Okay. We're going to move the door forward, and that's going to take up that gap that, in hindsight, I've been doing this long enough to know that I should have taken that into consideration, and I did not, and I'm kind of kicking myself for doing so. But at least I know how to build a good frame, an accurate frame. That would be great for, like I said, a more of a surround style setup. And I got to looking, and I could do it with LCDs, but they are certainly not cheap whatsoever. The ones in particular that I looked at were called Arc by Samsung. But it's literally a curved display, and it's got a pretty significant curve. 3 of them combined will give you 180 degrees. So you gotta figure each. So yeah, each Samsung Arc monitor has 55 inches, and I'm just gonna pull one up here. Let me share my display here. What's a good photo here? I mean, it definitely has an arc to it. They're not cheap whatsoever. But 3 of them will give you 180 degrees for the low price of $6,000. You too can have 180 degrees of LCD surround beauty. So. Scepter makes a curved, and that is what I used. Scepter. SCEP. Let's take a look at that. Price is a lot better. There's a curved 49-inch one. So it looks like it's got a pretty decent arc to it as well. Yeah, I'd say so. But even at 49 inches, that wouldn't be wide enough. That wouldn't be wide enough to surprised to hear that bird flying this late. It wouldn't be wide enough to accommodate my front, I don't think. Unless they make bigger ones. 55-inch. Okay, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on something like that. Good to know. Good to know. What else was I gonna discuss? So yeah, Friday and this weekend, I'm gonna be cracking down hard on this thing. The frame's gonna get reworked. The displays are gonna get moved. So I'm hoping, by Saturday evening, I'll be able to start getting some interior panels put back into place. But and again, I'll bring you along with me for the entire adventure. So we'll start Friday evening after I get home from work. We'll start taking things apart. Like I said, I don't have to redo the door frame. I'm using the same frame, just moving stuff up and then moving stuff forward. So I'm going to have to get a couple more boards that are going to run vertical here.
Morrow County traffic, Cessna 8561 X-ray, 2 miles to the north, crossing the field, downwind 28, Morrow County.
And it's kind of late for him to be flying. Oh well. So yeah, that's the plan, and I think that once that gets done, it'll be great. We're also going to install the butt kickers, the sound modulators. We got 2 of these things. Each of these things, 1 each, will get mounted underneath the seat, each seat. I think we built the seat frames in part 4 or 5, but anyway, what I've come to found out is that this profile is just a little bit too wide to fit in between my perforated steel tubing frame that I made for the seats. So I'm going to have to just shave a little bit of material off the front of each of these, and then they'll fit right in there. So we're going to do that, and those get tied into this amplifier here, and it requires, I don't want to say requires, it works best on its own dedicated sound card. So if you have a display with a sound output, somehow if you can tap into that, I use my front display for this. Sim Center, have a good one. Thanks for coming in. Take care, my friend. Tabletop Android, welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, works best when paired with Sim Shaker for aviators. It is a small program that runs in the background, but it analyzes the simulator audio. It analyzes the simulator audio, and it removes all of the stuff that you shouldn't feel. It only outputs stuff that you should feel. Like before I bought this, every time that I would flip a switch or something that still made a sound in the simulator, I'd feel that. And I don't want to feel that. So SimShaker for aviators combined with the companion program SimShaker sound module. Okay. So SimShaker for aviators is the main program, but if you combine it, and that's free, if you combine it with the SimShaker sound module, it's really top notch, and it brings it to life. What else was I going to discuss? Oh, I didn't even change over to the theme. This is SimShaker. Sorry, I thought I was sharing my display already. I was not. So this is SimShaker sound module and SimShaker for aviators. These are the two programs that I use to run the butt kickers. I did have an inquiry about PlaneMaker. I'm just going to take a couple minutes to show something. Totally 78, welcome on in. Glad you showed up. We're going to have to do some more additional framework, but I think you probably caught that part. Okay, PlaneMaker. I'm going to show real quick because I had a question. Someone asked a question about PlaneMaker and how to do something, and I'm just going to do it live so that they can rewatch it in the VOD. As soon as it decides it wants to run for me. Of course it wouldn't be responding. Sorry, I opened the wrong PlaneMaker version anyway, because the question was actually pertaining to 11. Oh. Okay. The question I got was about objects. And common misconception how to... A lot of people think that what you see over here in the objects, and if you click these eyeballs, that you're automatically taking these objects away from your flight model, and that's not the case. This over here on the left is simply, well, alright. Over here on the left is simply what you see inside a PlaneMaker. It has nothing to do with what you see on the plane inside of X-Plane. The stuff over here on the left, it lets you toggle stuff on and off so you can get a better visual of, what you're working with. The question I had was how to move or remove an object from an aircraft using PlaneMaker. So the way it works is you go up here to your standard menu and you click on miscellaneous objects. Okay? That's going to bring up your miscellaneous objects menu. So everything that you see that was on the left side here is going to show up in that miscellaneous objects menu. From there, you can go and find the object in question, and I'm just going to grab an external object so that we can see it. So let's just grab landing gear. That should be a pretty easy one to see. Fuselage gear. Okay. On the left, you have, it gives you longitudinal, lateral, and vertical attachment arms. Figure an arm as a distance. Okay. Not so much. I guess it's kind of similar to an arm, you know, when you're doing weight and balance. It's a not so much a turning force, but a location in this case. And say you had an object like a wet compass, and let's say you wanted your wet compass to shift slightly to the left or up, whatever the case may be, to accommodate your personal preference in your simulator. For, you know, if you run like a you know, full hardware setup, and let's say that magnetic compass, you know, you need to move it up, or you need to move it to the left or to the right to give you, you know, that certain viewpoint that you're looking for. I need to back up and say that these references, the lateral, longitudinal, vertical attachments, all of those are based on one fixed point in the aircraft. And it varies by developer and aircraft manufacturer. In the 172 that I fly in real life, you know, it's the firewall. That's the datum. That's the central location, your reference point when I factor in weight and balance and all that stuff. In X-plane here, and I'm just going to hit my space bar to bring up the wireframe. Okay. In X-plane, my datum, we'll just zoom all the way in. You can kind of see this ball, this black dot right here. That is my datum. That's the reference point that everything is being built off of. Is that black ball right in the center. So everything that has a distance and or dimension, it's all based on that one single point. So if we go here to miscellaneous objects, I'm going to hit the space bar again to bring get rid of the wireframe so we can see the model. I'm going to go back into miscellaneous objects, and let's say that, you know, I don't have a compass in this model, but let's just say we grab this fuselage gear, we go vertical, you know, we can click that. You know, the larger we put in, it's moving the object. That's what moves the stuff that you see inside of the simulator, inside of X-plane. That's how you can manipulate an aircraft to fit a setup that you have. I was talking earlier about, you know, this gentleman I was talking to, and everything was lowered, and that's exactly what, you know, what the author of that aircraft file did, you know. But everything was lowered in his model. So when it was loaded into X-Plane 12, he couldn't see anything because everything was lowered, and that was that's the issue. So to do it again, you just move it up and down. It has a latitude or a longitudinal, lateral, and vertical attachment. You know, if you know if your wings were too high, and you know, and a lot of this stuff mainly applies to full hardware setups and cockpits. You know, if you're flying X-plane like majority of people do, you really don't have to mess with any of this stuff here. But if you needed to, this is how you make adjustments to the physical model, stuff that you see. Like if I needed to lower the wings a little bit to get a better view of, the ailerons or whatever, you can do so. You can move it forward or left or right, whatever the case may be, whatever suits you. That's how. That's how you do that. Okay. And then you would just save it and reload your aircraft, which I'm not going to save this one. I just kind of wanted to demonstrate. So let me go ahead and just kind of clear some of this out. Glass, outer, and glass air fuselage. Now I got rid of some stuff so we can kind of see better. But even stuff inside of the panel here. Okay. Let's see. You can get rid of the panel completely. But you can move things like, if it's an object, you can move it. Like say, you wanted to move your audio panel. Don't know why anyone would want to do that, but if you wanted to move your audio panel up and down, you could do that. So if you ever wanted to know how to necessarily move an object inside a plane maker, that's how you do it. It's under standard, miscellaneous objects, not miscellaneous bodies. I could spend hours on plane maker in and of itself, and we're not going to get into everything that it can do. I just did want to bring up that key point as to how to move a particular object. Because like I said, I did have some questions come in about that. So that is where we're at. I can tell you right now, just by that short experimental flight that we did, that once everything is said and done, I am absolutely going to love flying this thing because everything else felt so natural. Just reaching for various controls, reaching for the flaps, it felt more natural because as far as all that goes, it's all been measured and placed exactly where it needs to be. And we did all that previously along the way in the build process. And I even knew again that the panel was 2 inches taller than it is in reality. And I still kick myself in the arse because I didn't take that into consideration when I was building this frame, and I should have. So let my faux pas be a bit of knowledge gain. So it's, yeah. So we're gonna have to modify the frame slightly to fit the simulator, as opposed to trying to manipulate the simulator program to fit our frame. And I'm fine with that because the end result is still gonna be. I'm looking for satisfaction with the end result. That's what I need. And I just in a couple times I was sitting in here, just kind of looking and sitting. I was starting to feel like I wasn't gonna like the end result because of, and not so much because of, because of the actual how frame, but more so the detraction that I'm getting, here, because I have this whole space here now, this whole opening that wasn't there previously, and as the result, it's a detraction. That's that's what it is. It's just it's a detraction. I think that's about all that I have for this evening. We're gonna kick things into high gear Friday. So Friday, the plan is to at least get the frame redone on, redo both sides to a point where I can start putting some wall boards up and paneling the inside. So if I'll be a happy guy if I can get the frame redone on Friday, and then Saturday we'll spend doing the putting the internal panels on, and I'll show you how those are constructed and the material that I use to put them together, because I'm gonna have to take them apart to cut them down and trim them down anyway, so I'll show you that whole process. But for now, I think that's it. I think that's all that I've got. I do want to thank everyone for coming in and hanging out for a bit this evening and learning and, flying along with me as we did our first experimental flight there. So yeah, I think that's it. So until Friday, I hope you all take care and stay safe. And take care of each other. I feel like that's always important. I do want to run over some thank yous again real quick. Pseudo Pilot coming in with the offline follow last week. Thank you for that. Rich, November 6542 Victor came in with a new follow earlier this week while we were offline. So again, I appreciate that. Jet Pilot Cinnamon with the resubscription to the channel, 11 months in a row. And Jeffrey B for his 1 year anniversary resubscription. Thank you so much. And then the new follow from Sim Center USA. Greatly appreciated. Totally78, thanks for coming in and hanging out. M. Stein, always a pleasure. Tabletop Android, thank you for coming in. Resolated, pleasure again. DreamNid, Inside the Box, thank you guys for coming in. B. Payne, I appreciate you. If I did miss anyone, I do apologize. Sometimes it is difficult to keep up with the chat, but hey Drippy, thank you. But I think I did cover everyone. So yeah, let's see who we can go and raid this evening. We're gonna go and raid Jeffrey B, who is flying Microsoft Flight Simulator. He is doing his one of his Wings Over New England ratings. I'm not sure which one it is, but let's go say hello to Jeffrey. And until Friday, I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful couple of days. Take care. Again, my name is Michael. It was my pleasure. And we will see you all next time. Have a good one.